Sheltered in the shadows, the night was cold and silent. Jake Carter stood alone in his garage, staring at the hidden door in the floor. His heart still raced from what happened in the forest. A crashed spaceship. A strange alien woman. A child with glowing eyes. It didn't feel real, but they were here. Right below his feet. He walked slowly to the door and unlocked it. The floor creaked as he opened the heavy wooden hatch. A small light flickered inside. He climbed down the ladder. In the corner of the basement, the alien woman sat against the wall. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes large and full of fear. She held her daughter close. The little girl, Luna, looked up at Jake. Her eyes were bright like stars. Jake bent down and placed a bowl of warm soup in front of them. Here, food. It's safe. Syria looked at him, unsure. Slowly, she reached out, sniffed the soup, and gave it to Luna first. The child sipped it, then smiled. Jake smiled too. Good, Syria nodded. Thank you. It was the first time she spoke. Her voice was soft, shaky. Jake was surprised. She could speak English even, if only a little. Welcome, he said, keeping his voice calm. You don't have to be afraid. I won't hurt you. Syria looked down at Luna, then back at Jake. You, help us. Why? Jake sat on the floor, across from them. Because, you needed help. You were scared, and alone. I know how that feels. He didn't say more. But deep inside, he remembered the lonely years after his wife died. The empty house. The quiet nights. Maybe that's why he couldn't walk away. Later that night, Jake checked the news. There was no mention of a spaceship crash, but a report said strange lights were seen over the forest, and men in black suits were spotted near the area. Jake shut the laptop. They're looking for you, he whispered to himself. In the morning, Jake went back to town. He bought some clothes, medicine, and toys. Simple things. Nothing that would raise questions. But he noticed a black car parked near the store. A man in a suit watched him closely. He left quickly. Back at the garage, Syria had cleaned up. She had used some cloths to make a small bed for Luna. The girl was sleeping. Syria looked stronger than before, but still weak. Jake gave her the medicine and clothes. You can use these. I hope they help. Syria touched his hand. You, good human. Jake laughed a little. Not always, but I try. Over the next few days, Jake helped Syria rest. He gave her food and kept her hidden. Luna started to laugh sometimes. She liked Jake's dog, Max, and played with him. She even said her first English word, ball. Jake smiled every time he heard it. But something strange happened one night. Jake was checking the basement when he saw a soft light. Luna was asleep, but her body was glowing faintly. A soft white-blue light came from her skin. Jake froze. What the hell? Syria rushed over and covered Luna with a blanket. It's normal, she said. For her kind. Jake looked at her. Is she ... sick? Syria shook her head. No, she's special. She has light inside. Jake didn't know what that meant, but he believed her. One evening, as Jake was locking the garage door, someone knocked. He opened it slowly. A man in a black suit stood there. Tall, cold eyes. He flashed a badge. Evening, sir. We're investigating a possible crash near the woods. Did you see or hear anything unusual? Jake shook his head. Nope. Just thunder, maybe. The man looked around. You live here alone? Jake nodded. Just me and my dog. The man stared for a moment too long, then smiled. If you do see anything, let us know. Jake closed the door carefully. He locked it, then rushed downstairs. Pack up, he told Syria. They came. We need to move you soon. Syria looked afraid. Where? I don't know yet, Jake said. But I won't let them take you. That night, as Syria held Luna in her arms, she looked at Jake with new eyes. Eyes not just full of fear but trust. You are brave, she said. Jake looked away. No, I'm just ... doing what's right. But deep inside, something was changing. He didn't feel alone anymore. And maybe, just maybe, he was part of something bigger now. Something worth fighting for. The rain fell hard that night. The garage roof rattled with each drop. Jake sat at his workbench, staring at the small silver object Syria had given him. It looked like a coin, but when he touched the center, it glowed faint blue. Symbols danced across the surface, nothing he could understand. Syria stood behind him, holding Luna close. This ... is our proof, she said softly. Jake turned to her. Proof of what? Syria walked to the table and placed the object on it. She pressed her finger to a tiny marking. A beam of light shot upward, forming a glowing image in the air. A hologram. Jake's eyes widened. He saw massive city-tall towers, floating vehicles, and skies filled with ships. But then, fire, explosions, screams. Ships fell from the sky like burning stars. "This is my home," Syria said. Or, it was. Jake watched as armored figures marched through the streets. People ran, some carrying children. Others dropped. Lasers fired. Buildings collapsed. "Who are they?" Jake asked, pointing to the soldiers. Syria's voice trembled. "They call themselves the Zarnok Empire. They come to take planets, people, everything." Jake frowned. "And you ran from them?" She nodded. "They took my husband. We escaped in a ship. I had only this." She pointed to the device. "It records everything. The attack. Their orders. Their voices." Jake stared at the floating image of destruction. "This could expose them," he said. Syria looked at him. "Yes, but they want it back. That's why they are here." Jake shut the garage lights and peeked through the window. The same black car from the store now sat across the street, headlights off, watching. "They found me," he muttered. Syria tensed. She held Luna tighter. The child looked up, sensing her mother's fear. Jake walked to the basement, where he had started working on the broken alien ship he had hidden under old tarps. Its body was cracked. Wires hung out, but he had started fixing it slowly. "I need more parts," he told himself. "Real tech. Military grade." He made a plan. He knew a Mandrake, an old friend. Hacker, smart, dangerous, but loyal. The next morning, Jake drove to the edge of the city. He parked in an alley behind a bar. Inside, the lights were low, the music loud. Smoke filled the air. In the corner, Derek sat with his laptop, surrounded by cables and empty cans. Jake walked over. "Still ruining your lungs, huh?" Derek looked up. "Jake Carter. Thought you were dead." "Almost," Jake said, sitting down. They talked. Jake didn't say everything's just enough. A crash, strange tech, people looking for him. "I need gear. Quiet stuff. Can you help?" Derek smirked. "You always bring the weird stuff." "I'm in." Jake gave him a piece from Syria's ship. "Can you scan this?" Derek plugged it in. The screen lit up, then glitched. He leaned forward. "Whoa. This isn't just alien. This is government masking level encryption. And ... Wait." He stared at the data. His face turned pale. "What is it?" Jake asked. Derek swallowed hard. "This data, it talks about Earth." Jake leaned in. "What?" "They're watching us. Planning something. The Zarnok Empire. These files show Earth is next." Jake froze. "How long? 2 years? Maybe less." Back at the garage, Jake locked all doors and covered the windows. He sat with Syria and showed her what Derek found. She closed her eyes. "I feared this. Earth is a quiet world. Easy to control. That's why they come." Jake stood and paced. "We need to tell someone. The government. The military." Syria shook her head. "They won't believe you, or they'll take it. Hide it. That's what happened on my world." Luna pulled at Jake's sleeve. "Hero," she said. Jake knelt down. "Yes, kid." She held out her drawing stick figures. One was big, one small. The big one had a beard like Jake's. The small one had glowing eyes. Above them, a heart. Jake smiled, his heart heavy. "Thanks, Luna." That night, the garage door rattled. Jake grabbed his wrench and walked silently toward the sound. A voice called out, "Jake Carter, open up. We know you're in there." It was the man in the black suit. More voices followed. Then a bang. They were breaking in. Jake rushed down. "We have to go. Now." Syria grabbed the hologram device and lifted Luna. Jake opened the secret tunnel he had dug behind the garage just in case. They crawled through the dirt and roots, emerging in the woods behind his house. Flashing lights now filled the street. The black car. Armed men. Too many. Jake led them deeper into the forest. "We need to disappear," he said, "until we figure out what to do." Syria looked at him. "You could leave us. Still. But you don't." Jake looked up at the stars. "Because I've seen what you're running from." He turned to Syria. "And now I know. They're coming for us, too." The forest was quiet, but Jake didn't trust the silence. He led Syria and Luna deeper between the tall trees. Their clothes were wet from the night air. Syria's steps were slower now, and Luna clung to her like a shadow. They finally reached an old hunting cabin Jake hadn't used in years. It was small, with broken windows and a dusty floor, but it was hidden. "This will do. For now," Jake said, pushing open the door. Syria looked around. Safe. Not forever, Jake replied. But they won't find us tonight. Inside, Jake started a small fire. He handed Syria a blanket, then found some canned food and bottled water from the storage. Luna was already asleep in her mother's arms, her small body shivering softly. Jake sat near the fire and stared into the flames. They're hunting us, he whispered. But how do they always know where we are? Syria stayed quiet. Then she said something that chilled Jake to the bone. They have help. Jake looked up sharply. You mean someone here, on Earth? She nodded. Yes. The Empire sends agents. They look like you, talk like you, but they are not human. Jake leaned forward. Aliens. In disguise. Syria looked at Luna, then back to Jake. Some are born on Earth. Some are created. They wear human faces. Jake clenched his fists. Then anyone could be one of them. The next morning, Jake hiked back to town alone, careful to avoid cameras and main roads. He wore a hoodie and kept his head low. He met Derek behind a junkyard. I need answers, Jake said. Someone is tracking us. Derek nodded. I checked the data from that alien drive. There's something strange. He pulled out a phone and showed Jake a map. Red dots blinked across it. They're not just tracking you. They're tracking energy signals from Syria. And the little one. Jake frowned. How? The girl, Luna, she's different. Emits some kind of radiation we've never seen. That's how they're finding you. Jake rubbed his face. So what do we do? I have something, Derek said. Signal blockers. Military grade won't last forever, but it'll give you time. He handed over two small black devices. One for Syria, one for the kid. Strap them on. Hide the signal. Jake nodded. Thanks. But as he turned to leave, Derek grabbed his arm. Be careful, Jake. Someone's been asking about you. Not just feds. A local. A guy named Grant Turner. Jake froze. Grant was a mechanic like him. Lived nearby. Friendly. Quiet. Too quiet. Now that Jake thought about it. Where is he now? Jake asked. He's been following you. Maybe even today. Back at the cabin, Jake handed the blockers to Syria. She strapped one to her arm. He gently put the other on Luna, who giggled as it blinked green. Will it hurt? Syria asked. No. Just hides your energy. Like a mask, she nodded. Good. But Jake's mind wasn't at rest. If Grant was helping the Empire, they weren't just being followed. They were being watched. That evening, Jake left again. He drove to Grant's house. It was a small, neat place at the edge of town. The windows were dark. Jake picked the lock and stepped inside. The house was cold and too clean. Like no one really lived there. He moved to the back room. A humming noise caught his attention. He opened the closet door and found a metal case. Inside, alien tech. Wires, scanners, a small screen showing maps. Dots blinked on Earth's surface. One was red hovering near the forest. Near his cabin. Jake's blood ran cold. Grant was the mole. He ran out of the house, jumped into his truck, and sped toward the cabin. The sun was down now. The road was dark. His hands gripped the wheel tighter than ever. As he reached the forest trail, his headlights caught movement. A man Grant stood near the trees, holding a strange device. He turned and ran as Jake's truck approached. Jake slammed on the brakes, jumped out, and chased him into the woods. Branches scratched his face. Mud pulled at his boots. He tackled Grant to the ground. Who are you working for? Jake shouted. Grant's face changed literally. His skin rippled. His eyes glowed yellow for a second. Then, human again. Jake stumbled back. What the hell are you? Grant smiled. You're too late, Jake. They already know. He pressed something on his wrist and vanished in a flash of light. Jake was left alone in the dark forest, shaking. When he reached the cabin, Syria stood at the door, holding a small blaster. Jake raised his hands. It's me. She lowered the weapon. They're close, she said. I feel them. Jake nodded. I know. One of them was Grant. He's not human. He walked over to Luna and picked her up. She smiled and touched his face. We have to move again, Jake said. They won't stop. Not now. Syria looked tired, but her eyes were strong. We carry the truth, she said. They fear that. Jake nodded. Then we fight. Together. The rain returned, soft and cold. Jake, Syria, and Luna moved through the forest, quiet as shadows. The small signet blockers on Syria and Luna blinked green, masking their location for now. Jake led them to an old warehouse near the railway. It was rusted, half-broken, and forgotten. Perfect. We'll rest here, Jake said, pushing open a metal door. Inside, The air smelled like dust and oil. Broken crates and metal shelves filled the corners. Jake quickly cleared space, spreading out blankets, and starting a fire in a steel barrel. Luna curled up in Syria's lap, tired and cold. Jake sat against the wall, his back aching. He hadn't slept properly in days. Syria looked at him. "You're tired." Jake nodded. "Yeah, but I can't stop." "You don't have to do this," she said. "We're not your people." Jake glanced at Luna. She looked peaceful now, holding her small stuffed toy. It glowed faintly just like her. "You are now," Jake said. Later that night, Jake sneaked out again. He returned to Derek's hideout. Derek looked worse, dark circles under his eyes, hands shaking. "I cracked the last part of the data," he said. "You're not gonna like it." Jake leaned in. "Tell me." Derek pointed at the screen. "Earth isn't just a target. It's already compromised. They've placed tech here for years, watching us, learning." Jake stared at the files. Maps of cities, secret locations, notes in alien language. They call it Phase 1. Quiet invasion. People in power. Might not be human. Jake took a deep breath. "Can we stop it?" Derek sighed. "Only if we expose them. This data could wake people up. But you need a way to broadcast it far. Really far. Not just Earth, other planets. Rebellion groups. Free worlds." Jake nodded. "A satellite." Derek raised an eyebrow. "You thinking of the old Skyreach tower?" "It's still standing," Jake said. "Abandoned, but high enough to send the signal." Derek frowned. "It's risky." Jake smirked. "So is hiding aliens in my garage." Jake returned to the warehouse. But something felt wrong. The fire was out. The door was slightly open. "Syria," he called out. No answer. He rushed inside. Empty, then dash movement. A crash from the back room. Jake ran, ready to fight, only to find Syria on the ground, clutching her side. Luna stood nearby, crying. Jake dropped beside her. "What happened?" Syria's skin was pale. Her breathing was heavy. "I'm weak," she whispered. "This planet doesn't feed me." Jake looked at her in panic. "What do you need?" She held up a small glowing crystal from her pocket. "Power core. Almost empty. It keeps me alive." Jake took it. "Can it be charged?" She nodded. "With their tech." Jake stood, his jaw tight. "Then I'll get it." Jake drove fast back to the place he swore never to return to. The hidden alien base Derek once showed him on the map. It was built underground, disguised as an old radio station. He parked behind a hill and crawled toward the entrance. 2 guards stood outside. Jake used the shadows, sneaking in from the back. Inside, the walls were cold metal. Blue lights pulsed down the hallway. Alien symbols glowed. Jake moved quietly, ducking behind crates. In one room, he found what he needed: energy charger, humming with power. He placed the crystal inside. It glowed, alive again. But as he turned to leave, he heard a voice behind him. Well, Jake Carter." It was Grant. His face flickered, eyes glowing yellow. "I told you. They already know." Jake clenched his fists. "I'm not afraid of you." "You should be," Grant said, stepping closer. "Because your kindness, it has a cost." Jake threw a metal bar, smashing a nearby light. Darkness filled the room. He ran. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed. Voices shouted in a strange language. Jake didn't stop. He burst out of the building, jumped into his truck, and sped into the night. Back at the warehouse, Syria lay weak on the floor. Luna sat beside her, quietly humming a tune. The door slammed open. Jake rushed in, crystal in hand. He plugged it into the small device. Syria wore on her chest a soft hum, a glow. Her breathing slowed, then deepened. Her eyes opened. "You came back," she whispered. Jake nodded, sweating and dirty. "Of course. You risked everything," she said. "I wasn't going to let you die," he answered. She smiled, and tired, grateful smile. Then Jake turned to Luna, who stood up and walked over to him. She hugged him tightly. "Thank you," she said. One word. But it was enough. That night, Jake stood outside, looking at the stars. The wind was cold, but his heart felt warm. Inside, Syria rested. Luna slept. For a moment, there was peace. But Jake knew it wouldn't last. They had the proof. They had the message. Now, they needed the world to hear it. And for that, they'd have to climb higher than ever before. The sun rose behind dark clouds. The warehouse stood silent, hidden among tall grass and broken tracks. Jake stood on the roof, watching the sky. He held a pair of old binoculars, scanning for anything: ships, drones, danger. So far, nothing. But he knew peace never lasted. Inside, Syria sat up slowly. Her skin had more color now. Her eyes looked sharp again. The crystal Jake brought back had restored her for now. You're stronger, Jake said, stepping inside. She nodded. Yes, but the energy won't last long. Jake knelt beside Luna, who was drawing on the floor with a piece of chalk. Her drawing showed stars, a spaceship, and 3 stick figures. Her Syria, and Jake. We can't run anymore, Jake said. We have to fight back. Syria looked at him. How Jake stood. By telling the truth, they left the warehouse just after sunset. Jake drove a different truck, an old armored van he borrowed from Derek. Painted black, its windows were covered, its engine quiet. Their destination, Skyreach Tower, an abandoned satellite station, high in the mountains. It once connected radio signals around the world. Now, it was broken, forgotten, but Jake believed they could bring it back. With the alien data chip in hand, they had a message the galaxy needed to hear. Jake drove carefully, avoiding main roads. Syria and Luna sat in the back, hidden behind gear and metal sheets. As they crossed a quiet bridge, Luna looked out the window and gasped, double quotes, light ... In the sky, Jake looked up. A Zarnak drone hovered far above, blinking red. He hit the gas. The drone didn't chase them, but it had seen them. Time was running out. By midnight, they reached the mountain. The tower stood tall against the night, sky-rusted, bent, and half-covered in vines. Jake helped Syria and Luna climb the narrow path to the entrance. Wind howled through broken glass. The inside smelled like dust and metal. It's perfect, Jake said. He opened the control room door. Dust flew. Panels blinked weakly. Wires hung like vines. Derek had arrived hours before. He was inside, already, working fast. You're late, he said, not looking up. Ran into a drone, Jake replied. Derek pointed to the main console. I've got limited power. But if we link the alien chip to the satellite dish, we might reach low-orbit ships and maybe, just maybe, ... rebel channels beyond Earth. Syria stepped forward. Then let's do it. Jake handed her the chip. She placed it gently into the modified slot. The screen blinked. A hologram appeared, images of the Zarnak war. Their attacks. Their leaders giving cruel orders. Derek whistled. That's more than proof. That's a galaxy-shaking truth. Suddenly, the ground shook. A deep rumble filled the air. Jake ran to the window. A Zarnak warship descended from the clouds, its dark body covering the moon. Drones poured out like flies. They found us, he said. Derek panicked. The signal needs 2 more minutes. Jake grabbed a wrench. We hold them off. No matter what. He looked at Syria. Can you fight? She nodded, pulling a small silver blaster from her coat. I'm ready. Luna stood behind them, eyes wide. Stay with Derek, Jake said. Help him. Luna nodded. Outside, drones flew toward the tower. Jake and Syria stood at the entrance, side by side. The first drone fired. Jake ducked and swung his wrench crack. Sparks flew. The drone crashed to the ground. Syria aimed her blaster and fired clean shots too. More drones fell, but more kept coming. Jake was hit in the shoulder. He fell back, groaning. I'm fine, he shouted. Syria helped him up. Her eyes glowed. She moved like a warrior now. Inside, Derek shouted, 1 minute. A drone broke through the window. It flew toward the console. Luna stepped in front of it. She held up her hand. A soft glow formed like a shield. The drone stopped, confused, then exploded in midair, repelled by the energy. Derek's jaw dropped. The kid's a power source. Luna smiled. Told you light inside. Back outside, the sky shook as the warship charged a weapon. A loud hum filled the air. Syria looked up. They'll destroy the tower. Jake grabbed her hand. We need that signal out now. Inside, the console beeped. Derek hit the final command. Signal's out, he yelled. Data is transmitting. A bright beam shot from the satellite dish into the sky, piercing the clouds. The warship paused. The drones froze. Across space, receivers lit up. On rebel ships. On faraway planets. The message spread like wildfire. The warship began to rise. They're leaving. Syria whispered. Jake sat down, bleeding but smiling. Guess they didn't like the truth. Luna hugged him tightly. Derek looked at the blinking screen. We did it. Later, they watched the stars from the broken rooftop. Syria placed her hand on Jake's. You saved us. Jake shook his head. No, we saved everyone. Above them, a new light appeared in the sky. Signaled from a rebel ship. Help was coming. But the war wasn't over. This was just the beginning. Smoke rose from the mountain tower. The battle was over, but the ground was still hot. Metal pieces of destroyed drones lay scattered around the base. The wind carried the smell of burnt circuits and dust. Jake sat on a rock outside the ruined tower. His shoulder was bandaged, his shirt torn. Syria stood beside him, her face calm but alert. Luna played with a piece of melted drone, pretending it was a toy. "We sent the message," Jake said. "Now what?" Before Syria could answer, a sound filled the sky, a soft hum. Getting louder that they looked up. A sleek silver ship hovered above them. Unlike the Zarnok warship, this one had a clean design and a glowing blue engine. A symbol flashed on its side. 3 stars inside a circle. Syria gasped. "Rebellion ship." The vessel landed gently on the flat ground. A ramp lowered. Out came 3 figures, 2 men and a woman dressed in black and silver armor. They held no weapons, only scanners and data pads. The woman stepped forward. Her voice was strong but kind. "Jake Carter," he nodded, slowly standing. "We received your signal. The proof of the Zarnok Empire's crimes. The galaxy is already reacting." Syria stepped beside him. "Will they help?" The woman smiled. "Yes, but we must be quick. Earth is still in danger." Jake frowned. "What do you mean?" The woman held up her scanner. "Zarnok ships have retreated, but not left. They're hiding, waiting. There's a weapon they placed here years ago. A sleeper device deep underground. If activated, it will wipe out every city on Earth." Jake's stomach turned cold. "Where is it?" She pointed to the map on her screen. "Central Zone, near a place called Redwood Facility." Derek stepped out of the tower, eyes wide. "I know that place. Old research site. Government shut it down 10 years ago." Jake turned to Syria. "We stopped that weapon. Or everything we did means nothing." That night, they made a plan. Jake, Syria, Luna, Derek, and the rebel agents would go to the Redwood Facility. The rebels had high-tech tools. Derek brought hacking gear. Jake brought courage. Luna carried something else, something no one could fully explain. A growing energy inside her. They reached the site by morning. Redwood Facility was covered in vines and broken fences. But inside, it was clean. Too clean. "This place has been active," Jake said. Syria nodded. "They've been here, watching." As they entered, lights flickered on by themselves. Motion sensors. Derek checked his tablet. "The core is below us. 4 levels down." They moved quickly, staying low. The walls were smooth metal now, not concrete. The deeper they went, the less human the facility felt. Symbols lined the walls. Zarnok writing. "This was built with alien help," Jake said. On the 4th level, they found it. A large room filled with pulsing energy. In the center stood the Zarnok sleeper whip, black orb, floating above a power base. It hummed with quiet menace. The rebels moved fast, scanning and preparing to shut it down, but the lights turned red. Doors slammed shut, and a voice filled the room deep. "Robotic, emotionless, unauthorized presence detected." A panel opened. Out stepped Grant, still wearing his human face, but his eyes glowing gold. Jake stepped forward. "You again." Grant smiled. "You don't understand. Earth was already lost. You just delayed the future." He raised his hand. A wave of energy hit the team. Everyone flew back, except Luna. She stood, her body glowing softly. Grant looked at her, confused. "What are you?" Luna didn't answer. She walked toward the weapon. Syria cried out, "Luna, no." But Luna turned and smiled. "Light can stop dark." Her body glowed brighter. The room filled with white-blue energy. Machines sparked. Grant screamed, his body shaking. Jake tried to move, but the light was blinding. And then silence. When it faded, Luna stood beside the darkened weapon. The orb had cracked. The power was gone. Grant was on the floor, his disguise broken. His body now robotic, lifeless. Syria ran to Luna, holding her close. "You, saved us," she whispered. Luna looked tired but safe. Jake stood and looked around. Facility was silent. The war, at least here, was over. Back outside, the rebels destroyed the weapon remains and sent messages to other rebel groups. "You've done more than save Earth," the woman said to Jake. "You've started something bigger." Jake looked at the sky. "Then let's finish it." 2 days later, the world changed. The data had reached every corner of the galaxy. Allies began arriving. Earth leaders were forced to admit the truth. Some had helped the Zarnak Empire. They were arrested, Others stood with humanity. A new defense council was formed with Earth as part of it. Jake declined a seat. "I'm just a mechanic," he said. But to Luna, he was something more. "Hero," she said. Smiling, Surya stood beside him. "You showed what humans can be. Brave, loyal, kind." Jake looked at her. "Humanity stands up," he said. "And we're just getting started." The sun rose quietly over the green hills of Earth. For the first time in weeks, the sky was clear. No warships, no drones. Just clouds, soft and white, floating across the blue. Jake Carter stood on a small wooden bridge near his old garage. Birds sang in the trees. His dog, Max, chased squirrels like nothing had changed. But everything had. Behind him, Syria and Luna walked down the path. Luna ran ahead, laughing as she spun in circles. "She's happy again," Syria said. Jake smiled. "She saved the world. She deserves it." Syria looked up. "You helped her become strong." Jake didn't answer. He just watched Luna, joy lighting her face. It reminded him of the child he lost long ago. He never spoke about it. He didn't need to. Syria could see it in his eyes. 3 days had passed since the fall of the Zarnok weapon. Earth had changed. Quickly. People now knew the truth. They were not alone in the universe. Aliens lived among them. Some friendly, some dangerous. But humans had stood up and survived. Across the globe, news channels played the message Jake and Syria had shared. Cities began forming defenses. Satellites were upgraded. Old governments collapsed. New leaders rose, ones who listened. But it wasn't just Earth that responded. Ships from other worlds arrived, one by one. Some brought supplies. Others brought scientists. A few even brought their own children, curious to meet humans. The Rebellion Council offered Earth a seat. Jake, of course, said no. "I don't do chairs and titles," he said. "I fix engines and break rules." So they asked Syria. She said yes, but only if Luna could stay by her side. Today was different. A rebel ship waited in the clearing near the forest. It would take Syria and Luna to the rebellion's home base. Far away, safe among the stars. Jake helped load their small bags into the cargo bay. Nothing heavy, just clothes, tools, and Luna's favorite glowing toy. "You're really going," Jake said. Syria nodded. "We must help others now, like you helped us." Luna ran up and hugged him tight. "You come too." Jake knelt. "Not today, kid. Someone has to keep this place running." "But later?" she asked. Jake smiled. "Yeah, maybe later." Syria placed a hand on his shoulder. "Thank you, Jake, for your kindness. For your fight for ... everything." Jake nodded. "Take care of her." Syria held back tears. "I will." The ship's engines powered on. Soft light lit the clearing. Luna waved from the doorway. "Bye, hero." Jake waved back, watching the ship rise slowly into the sky. It hovered, then shot upward, vanishing beyond the clouds. He stood there for a long time, staring at the empty sky. Later that evening, Jake returned to the garage. It was quiet again. Tools hung on the walls. Dust danced in the sunlight. But now, the place felt different, like a story had ended here. But another could begin. He sat at the workbench, picked up a wrench, then set it down. His hand brushed against something small. It was a drawing. Luna's 3 stick figures, again. One tall, one medium, one small. All holding hands. Above them, 3 stars and a heart. Jake smiled. 2 weeks later, a rebel scout returned with a message. Syria had shared Earth's story with hundreds of planets. The truth inspired new resistance movements. Some planets rose up against Zarnok control. Others offered help. And Luna. She had made friends with alien children from 5 different species. She even began learning how to fly small ships. The message ended with a short video of her waving and shouting, "Hi Jake, I'm flying now." Back on Earth, things slowly returned to normal. But it was a new kind of normal. Humans looked at the stars with open eyes. Schools taught alien history. Scientists worked with rebel tech. And everyone remembered one thing clearly. It was a mechanic, not a soldier, who stood up first. Jake became a quiet legend. People came to his garage asking for stories. He never told them much. Just smiled and said, it was all just a lucky day. But sometimes, late at night, he'd take out the alien coin-shaped device Syria had left him. He'd watch the stars and wait, not for trouble, but for a sign. One night, it came, a blue light in the sky. A familiar ship, and Luna's voice over the radio. "Jake, we're back, and we brought friends." Jake stood, grabbed his coat, and smiled. "Why, it looks like it's time to fix the galaxy again." He stepped out into the night, ready.